Hey guys, it's Rio Skates here and welcome back to my page. Today I'm giving you a special. I'm bringing you on board of my journey in unlocking the parallel slide. Now, I know there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with this move and finding ways to integrate it as part of their skating vocabulary, so to speak. So we're going to get into it. So I'm going to be attempting to unlock this move across 3 days with you. That's 3 days, 3 consecutive sessions, whereby I'm going to be drilling the parallel slide for you. I would highly recommend that you strap up and prepare yourself mentally and physically to fall, because you're going to fall. So make sure you've got your knee pads on, your wrist guards, your helmet, elbow pads, everything that you need to conduct this move safely, essentially. So let's get straight into it. This is how it went on day 1. So me being me, I thought I could just throw myself into this move, and inevitably I fell over several times. It was only then that I had to go back to the drawing board and focus on my entry to carving, particularly when performing this parallel slide. I had to focus on carving into the slide and therefore tightening the angle, and by tightening the angle I automatically activate a slide. But then it was tricky because then I had to get the angle of my trailing foot right and parallel with my front foot. So I had to get my trailing foot parallel with my lead foot in order to activate a parallel slide. Of course, a few attempts were simply me doing the power slide, not the parallel slide. So then with a few alterations, I was able to get parallel on both legs, and then it was all about maintaining the slide and sustaining it without falling over or sliding out, in other words.
Alright, I'm starting to feel my trailing leg, the edge on that foot more now. I mean, at the start, as you probably saw, I wasn't getting anywhere with it. It was like I was just doing a power slide, but then I realised that the position of the foot is important, particularly on the trailing one. So now I'm starting to feel how much weight I need to put on that to execute this move. Let's go again.
It may not look like much, but here I'm actually battling the edge work on both skates and trying to understand how much weight I actually need on the trailing leg, because essentially that's what I'm doing. I'm dividing that weight between the front foot and the back foot, but also trying to gather a balance so that I could slide across this ground.
Alright, I wanted to touch base again. I think I'm getting the feel of sliding. It's just all about really catching that trailing foot and getting enough pressure on it, but also trying to feel light as you glide. I suppose that's the most significant thing if you want to slide further. So for me, really, I feel like I'm putting too much weight on the front foot. I don't know, what do you think? Am I putting too much weight on the front foot, hence why I'm slowed down, and not enough on the back foot? Or do I need to catch the back foot or the trailing leg to just evenly distribute that glide? I don't know, but like I said, it's beginner stages and we're just gonna keep going at it, keep drilling it until I actually get it. I was able to do a couple of combos earlier, which was good. And it felt great, you know, I'm getting a feel for that gliding motion, I suppose. So let's go again and just keep an eye out for the cars, I suppose.
So as you can see, I'm slowly making good progress with the parallel slide here. It's hard for me to say exactly how much weight distribution needs to be across each leg at this point, but I find that getting the angle on approach is key. Otherwise, once again, you're going to slide out, and even worse, if you don't go in at an acute enough angle, then you're more likely going to fall forward, and that's exactly what we don't want to do here. So finding the balance between how far on your edges you should be is a matter of trial and error. So I would definitely recommend that you give it a go and try doing this in a similar way that I've done it to unlock this move as quickly as possible for you. Now it's time to move on to day 2, where I push my limits even further.
Decided to progress this move a little bit further and come to a location where I've got a decline essentially. So as you can probably see behind me, there's a little bit of a decline going down here. It's a little bit wet, so there's a few wet spots, but I'm willing to take that risk. Essentially, I want to see how I do coming down here with a little bit of speed. Of course, I'm going to slowly get into it, warm up, and see whether I can still perform the parallel slide, considering this will be my second day of drilling it, as I call it. So yeah, I'm gonna get to it, and I will see you in a moment. All right, that was attempt 1. I'm back again. Yeah, it's a little bit more different, particularly on the entry going into the slide. Because I'm on a decline, I find that now that I'm starting to feel my edges a little bit more, it's easier to slide out. So I find anyway. So long as you know how to catch it, I suppose, you're all right. What I mean is, by catching it, once you realize that that trailing leg is gonna slide out, it's almost as though you hop off the front foot and then cross over to get out. I had a couple of attempts doing this, and I did exactly this, and I'll show that video right now. But once you start to feel your edges somewhat, you can actually save it, if that makes sense. You can actually save the fall. Sometimes it's inevitable though, you are gonna fall, and you know, I fouled right outside the train station, but the ground was a little bit wet, but equally, I fouled. So, learning how to fall and how to save the slide out, I find that's effective for me. And I'm starting to get a better feel for how to do that now that I'm doing this move a little bit more.
So after a few more attempts, I was able to get onto my edges and pick up from where I left off in day 1. From what you will see, I start experimenting with the parallel slide. I start transitioning into a power slide in order to get onto a lion and produce more combinations, particularly with my wizard skate.
Yo, this guy's sick. Hell yeah.
For the most part, it's just about overcoming fear and that barrier of falling. Once you understand and accept that that is going to happen, and you're well equipped in terms of your protection, you should really attempt to try this out and drill the parallel slide. At first it feels a bit weird being in a sliding motion, particularly because usually you're used to your skates going forward in a line. So once you understand the entry and you get that right, it's all about maintaining that slide. So go out there and give it a go. And let's not forget, if you find this video useful, please hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on any content coming your way.
As you can see, today is a little bit wet. However, got a nice dry line here, which I'm gonna take and try and do the parallel slide down here. So it should look good. It's a beautiful day. Let's get into it, right?
So here we go with day 3. What you can see here is I'm battling on my edges and trying to understand how far on the edge I need to go, or in other words, how much lean I actually have to put into the slide going downhill. Now, from the get-go, I realized that I didn't have to lean back so much, solely because I'm going downhill and naturally the momentum's taking me that way. So the more I went onto my edges, I kind of found the more likely I was to slide out, or for my trailing leg to kind of wipe me out completely. So bear this in mind when you are tackling this yourselves, and remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more content, of course.
Alright, so I've hit this a couple of times now and fallen out a couple of times. It's so much different than sliding on flat surfaces, and I just want you lot to know that. I found that when I was sliding, my trailing leg again just slipped straight out. I suppose it's because the angle and the contact point. If I was to comment on this, I would say you got to get the angle right with that trailing or sliding leg, because yeah, as soon as that one slips out, you're gonna slide.
One thing I can say is that this is the hardest slide that I have ever tried to do, and with good reason, because this one is very tricky. You're trying to balance your own body weight against gravity whilst having friction under your feet, and quite frankly, it is definitely challenging. So if you are up for a challenge and you really want to push yourself, particularly in inline skating or wizard skating or whatever form of skating you're doing which involves wheels, then do this and drill it over consecutive days so that you can perfect it.
I'm beginning to think that sliding downhill, you don't have to be on your edges as much, I feel, because on numerous occasions I've slid out and yeah, it hurts. But you should check this out. I've got holes all in my clothes now, so I would highly recommend that you use some old clothes when you're sliding, because you don't want to ruin your good clothes.
So this is going to be my last drill, so please feel free to ask me any questions that you may have or get back to me after you have given it a go. Remember, the best way to learn is to simply put on the skates, without which you will simply not be able to progress. So I hope this video helps you, and stick around to see my tips on learning new moves when it comes to skating.
If I was to review and recap everything over the last few days of drilling this parallel slide, it's been so progressive. I've learned so much. I'm finding edges that I would never normally use, particularly on my trailing leg, as I've spoken about before. But the feeling of being in a glide or slide, it's phenomenal. And you know, I'm so overwhelmed with the progress I've made over these 3 days of drilling, and this is how I approach every move I want to learn. I teach myself by watching and analyzing videos and then giving them a go. Stopping halfway through, look at the video again, look at footage that I've taken to see the similarities and some of the differences, and ultimately some of the changes I need to do in order to perform this move in the way that I want it. So, you know, go out there and give it a go. I really do hope that this video has helped some of you trying to learn the parallel slide. I would recommend watching this tutorial or even saving it and taking it with you when you go and practice. But just remember, you know, if you're not used to doing a parallel slide, I would highly recommend that you learn the power slide first. The power slide first will give you an idea of how to slide on the leading leg,
and then ultimately you're just going to transition your trailing leg from going this way to this way, if that makes sense. So once again, if you have found this useful, please do subscribe. I'm looking to give more content to you, and if you've not got me on my other social media platforms, then you might as well add me on that. It's Rio, R-E-I-O, Skates. So that's Rio Skates on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube, which you're watching me from. So have a good day, folks, and thank you, and once again I hope this has been useful for you.